Well, my earliest memories of life are from Costa Rica, Colombia, and just a very fascinating way of growing up. My best friends were Colombians when I was growing up. Up until I was about 6 years of age, I had really no clear concept of what Canada was about. And when I did come back to Canada at 6 years of age, there was nothing that I wanted more than to be back down in Colombia. When I did return to Colombia, it was time for me to go to school, and that meant going to boarding school in Quito, Ecuador. It was a very difficult yet rewarding experience. I have mixed emotions about it, but I would say probably 90% good as far as an experience went. And some of my friends today, my very, very good friends, are people that I grew up with. They are my brothers and sisters still. They're people that I'm very close to, even though they live in nations scattered across this earth. And as I left Latin America, part of my heart was still down there. Before I sensed a call to be a missionary, I thought of many ways to get back to working in Latin America, or getting a job somehow where I could work among Latinos. I even went on some short-term missions trips back down into Latin America. There was just this continuing love for the Latino, and it was very nice and a pleasant surprise to be called back as a missionary. Felt a clear call from God to go back to Latin America. At that time, I did not know exactly where that would be, and had a wide array of options, and one of those options was Mexico. And we wound up in Mexico City, which was considered at the time, one of the largest cities in the world. And sometimes I say, if you take the entire population of this province and then all the other provinces in Canada, pack them all into a city, you have pretty much the population of Mexico City. So there is a huge metropolis waiting to hear about Christ, about His work, about how He can transform a life, and so that to me was a huge challenge. Go to the biggest city that you can imagine, to the complexities, the smog, the crime, all these huge needs in this monolithic place, and it just seemed like a great challenge. So we went in there to church plant, and even before getting to back down to Latin America, we were in Toronto working for a Chinese church, but planting a Hispanic church. And so there my wife was able to pick up some Spanish. I was able to refresh and rejuvenate my own language abilities there. So going back into Mexico, it felt very natural. I felt like I was back home, even though I'd never lived in Mexico before. And we began church planting, and one of the tasks that was before us was to do a cell church, kind of a cell house model church. We had never done that before, but it was also very rewarding, very rich experience. And this church is there, it's flourishing, great leadership, and we loved that experience. We worked hard at that, and at one point we felt God leading us in a different direction, and that was into the spiritual formation of leaders. After being in Latin America so long, I have seen over the years leaders who know maybe quite a bit about the Bible. They've received the theology, but they're also reaching these points of stagnation in their spiritual walks, and need that growth. They're always giving and looking for ways to receive. And so we've plugged into that that niche, I guess, you could call it that, where we are working on equipping the souls of pastors and leaders. Academically, there are seminaries and Bible schools available to them, but there is a need, a deep, deep need for somebody to reach into their souls, and so that their souls are dictating the pace of ministry and not the other way around. And so we do this via retreats, seminars. Sometimes we teach in Bible schools, but more of a retreat style when we are doing that kind of teaching. We're invited all over the country to speak and minister, and sometimes in places that are quite remote, pastors who are quite isolated from one another. And so we're able to go in and minister and encourage and create some form of accountability for them in their spiritual walk. And we just enjoy this so much, and there's such a great need. We are working through a ministry that God has given us, and it's called Permaneced, which literally means to abide. And so we are working on abiding in our own lives, and that's always a challenge, but as we meet those challenges, then we're able to share with our co-workers, our Latin American co-workers, how they too can abide and live in victory. And so that to us is just the greatest thing. We love that. If it weren't for the transformation of souls, I don't know if I could continue being an international worker. But we see this, we see God transforming people's souls, and that makes it all worth it. And so hopefully there'll be many more years of that. And we want to see this ministry, Permaneced, to abide, expand, and grow beyond Mexico, and it's already started to do that, and into the rest of Latin America.